Hi, I'm Jacob with Rogers Athletic, and today we are going to show you how to change a cable on our lat low row power stack. Basic tools you'll need to change out a cable is 2 sets of 7/16 wrenches and 2 9/16 wrenches. We have a ratchet and a socket, but either one will work. First step is we're going to remove any attachments from either the top or the bottom cable. So we're first going to exchange the upper cable and remove this attachment. Second step is going to be removing the upper cable bracket from the power stack. 2 9/16. Remove the bolt. Now be aware that once you remove the bolt, this cable is supporting this upper pulley trolley. So we need to hold the cable and remove these 2 jam nuts, at which point you'll need to support the cable trolley. You'll next need to remove the upper jam nut in order for the cable to pass through the upper pulleys. Support the cable or the pulley trolley as you guide the cable through the upper pulley. Once you pull the cable out of the cable trolley, you can rest this on the top of your cable stack for the next step. All right, now the upper cable is fully disassembled. We can remove this from the power stack. So gently guide this through and remove the upper cable. All right, now that we have the upper cable removed, let's remove the lower cable. We're gonna start by going around to the back side of the unit, and we need to loosen the 2 jam nuts holding the bottom stud of the cable. Pay attention and try not to drop the lower jam nut into the bottom of the unit. All right, now you have the cable removed. Gradually bring the cable trolley down. We'll remove the upper jam nut as well. Pull the cable out of the cable trolley. Then we'll go to the front side of the unit and pull the cable through. All right, it's time to start reassembling your power stack. Here's a tip: if you're replacing both cables at the same time and you get confused on which cable is top and bottom, you can always remember, laid out next to each other, the upper cable is significantly shorter. So we'll start with the upper cable. You'll need a ladder or something safe to stand on. And start with the cable, goes up the front side, so inside of this black spacer here, goes across the top, making sure not to go above the upper plate. We'll feed the cable through, and it goes to the furthest pulley back, and it goes across the top side of it. Once we pull that cable down, we'll grab our cable pulley trolley. The cable then goes around one of the pulleys. We'll go back up. There's one pulley inside. The cable goes up and directly back over 180 degrees back down. We've essentially made a big S pattern with our cable routing, and we can clip a diagram of the cable routing in the video here. Next step is to reconnect your cable bracket to your cable. So we'll start with one of the jam nuts, thread this onto the stud. we'll grab the cable bracket itself, pass this on. And here's a tip: as you're holding this assembly, take one of the nuts that goes on the inside, press it through, and line it up with the through hole. As you do that, you can spin the stud with the cable assembly to catch the first few threads, at which point you have the nut on the stud, and then you can spin this on the rest of the way. We're not going to worry about the exact adjustment of these nuts quite yet. We'll go ahead, we'll place the cable bracket on the top of the selector rod, and we'll place the bolt through loosely for now until we finish adjusting. All right, now we're ready to install our lower cable. Again, please reference the cable diagram earlier in the video, but we'll start by feeding this in. The stud goes between the two pulleys right through the middle, and then the cable actually guides through this lower tube, frame tube. So you'll feed it through. You may feel it stop, and if it does, it's likely getting caught on this edge. So you can either rotate the cable slightly as you feed it through, like that, and then push it the rest of the way in. Okay, next we have the cable pass through the back of the unit. It should go on the bottom side of this lower pulley. So ensure that is the correct routing. It's going to go up, over the top of your cable trolley. Make sure that it's on the pulley, the lower pulley. We're going to pull it back down. Now we need to install the first jam nut on the stud. Second jam nut. And here's the trick that I like to use. If you balance the nut on your fingertip, you can bring it in and again line it up with the through hole in the bottom of the power stack, and then we can spin the stud along with the cable to catch the threads. Okay, now that we have both of our cables installed in the machine, it's time to make the final adjustments to the cable tension. We'll start with the lower cable, and what our goal is to maintain at least 1/4 inch of threaded stud exposed past the bottom jam nut, which we have here. We'll go ahead and tighten up the jam nuts. Okay, now we'll finish the upper cable adjustment. We'll start by ensuring we have our 3/8 bolt tightened to the cable bracket. Now to adjust the proper tension on this end of the cable stud, we want to make sure that when we pull down on the cable end, that we have a 1/2 inch gap to the upper frame of the machine. So now that we do, we'll go ahead and tighten our 2 jam nuts.